Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
By the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Sarah, and I hope you are having a wonderful week, getting ready for a wonderful weekend, that you've got some good plans happening for the next couple of days. So this episode is ways to stay healthy while traveling. I just got back recently from traveling to visit my in-laws. They live in Ohio. I live in California. And I don't always get sick when I travel, but sometimes I do. I tend to have allergies and I have sinus issues, and I've talked about some of this before on this podcast. So if I'm going to get sick, often it is while I am traveling. There's all the recycled airplane air, and there's just being trapped in a small confined space with people who could have any number of colds or flus or whatever it is that they have, and maybe they don't even know they have it yet, but they're already contagious. There are people who are coughing and not covering their mouths. There are people who are sneezing. Then there's just the airport. Thousands of people go through airports every day and touch stuff. That's just how it is. So I always try to, do things like wash my hands, carry hand sanitizer with me. I make sure I have a little travel size with me that can go in that little plastic Ziploc bag that you can take through security. So, since you can't have liquids in your carry-on unless they're at that certain size and in the Ziploc bag, so they can be scanned and x-rayed and blah-de-blah-de-blah. But along with chapstick and other stuff. That sounded like mysterious. Ooh, other stuff. Not really. Along with certain things that I always travel with, like chapstick, like gum, like hand sanitizer. I always make sure I have that little thing of hand sanitizer in there. And everyone has their own travel routines, but are there certain things that you can be doing that can help you to stay healthier while you are traveling? Healthier not just in terms of getting sick, but healthier overall. Of course, when we travel, some of us are on vacation, so we decide that we can eat whatever we want, that we don't exercise maybe as much as we do at home, and all of that is, I would say, pretty normal. But there are all kinds of tips for staying healthy while we travel, and we're going to talk about as many of those today as seem appropriate. So the first list is from HuffPost, and they give us 16 tips to stay healthy while traveling. For some reason, this article, it's about staying healthy while traveling. It seems to be about humans staying healthy while traveling, but all of the pictures are of dogs. Hey, I like dogs, and they're cute dogs, but I was a little thrown off when I started scrolling through the article. I'm like, did I misunderstand? Is this how to keep your dog healthy while traveling? Also important, but not quite what I was going for with this podcast, but it does turn out that it is about humans. So their first tip in this article is sleep, and lots of sleep. The most important thing, they say, that you can do while traveling is to sleep. Your body needs to rest when you're physically traveling, crossing time zones, carrying luggage to and from destinations, walking during, maybe all day, depending on what you're doing, and so forth. Traveling can be hard on your body, especially when you cross multiple time zones. I only crossed a couple of time zones. Ohio is in the Eastern time zone. I'm on the Pacific time zone. So, it's only 3 hours hours difference, but I was exhausted the whole time. And I was exhausted in the opposite way of what you would think, because at 9:00 at night, it was 6:00 my time, but I felt it was my body felt like it was the other way. I was exhausted like it was midnight. My body was seriously confused. So anyway, sleep. They say how much rest is enough. Well, listen to your body and, maybe take a nap, maybe build in time during your day if you have time for a quick power nap, or time to not run around like a crazy person. Sometimes we need a vacation from our vacation, and sometimes during that vacation, if you can just find some time to sit back and relax a little bit, then you will feel more rested. Which leads us to number 2, which is pace yourself. Don't try to do everything in one day. For me and for my husband, when we go home, that can be hard because we want to see as many people as possible, right? We go to our hometowns, we want to see our families. His family is huge, my family is not, but still we want to see as many people as possible, and that can be hard. Or when you're just on regular vacation and you have all of these amazing things that you want to see, you have your list. Well, you still need to pace yourself and take some breaks. Build in those break or rest times during your day. If you're planning on doing a lot of walking, maybe build in a time when you can take some public transportation or a way to get to your next destination that doesn't involve you physically hoofing it there. Number 3, stretch it out. Have a full day ahead, it says. Dedicate at least 5 to 10 minutes every morning to stretch before you start your day of adventure. Stretch your arms, legs, neck, shoulders, and back. This actually is good advice for every day, but think about when you're traveling, especially if you're flying and you're running. You may be running through the airport. You're dragging your suitcase if you have a carry-on, or if you have a backpack or bags that go over your shoulders. There can be so much neck and shoulder tension. Different bed, different pillows. You never quite know what that situation's going to be like. So stretching. Also, find some time to stretch throughout the day. If you have those built-in break times when you are sitting or you are driving somewhere, riding somewhere, maybe on public transportation, maybe in a taxi, maybe in an Uber, whatever it might be, just take some time to, stretch out your neck, stretch out your shoulders, roll your ankles, roll your wrists, do all those good things. Number 4 is breathe. You're thinking, well, if I don't breathe, I'll pass out. But pay attention to your breathing, which is another one that can be good for every day, not just while you're traveling. You can, of course, you can do breathing exercises anywhere, anytime. You just, take those deep breaths, you hold it and exhale. We talked about square breathing during the episode on anxiety, and that's counting in for so many breaths, holding it for so many counts, exhaling for so many counts, and that really depends on you, how many that count is. So, take that time to breathe, and it will help you not only to relax if you're feeling stressed, but also to just pause during your day. If you are struck by something beautiful or interesting or captivating, while you are standing there gazing upon it, you can take some time to breathe. Number 5 is walk everywhere, which but walk everywhere, yes, but build in those break times, right? You can get your daily exercise, though. You can get those 10,000 steps if you plan a lot of walking, and you can really learn more about a place when you walk it as opposed to when you are just driving everywhere or whatever. And yes, you may not be able to walk everywhere, but if you're going to catch a bus or a train and the bus stop or train stop are not that far away, you can walk there and do that sort of thing. So you can definitely build in walking time to your trip, especially after sitting on a plane. I always like, if I have a long layover, I try to walk as much as possible in the airport while I'm waiting for my next flight. It just helps me to stretch out and to feel like I am getting some of those kinks out from sitting in a confined space for however many hours the flight might be. And the longer the flight, the more you're probably going to want to try to stretch out. And that can help with some of the jet lag you might be feeling. I know that sounds maybe counterintuitive. You're going to say, it's just going to make me more tired. What are you talking about, you crazy woman? But as always, these are tips that you have to take with a grain of salt. I know this is a health and wellness podcast. We shouldn't be talking about salt, right? You have to take these tips and make them work for you. You can't just make it a cookie cutter list. You got to make things work for you. These are suggestions. You can take what you want from the list, throw out what doesn't work for you, modify, etc., etc. So, speaking of breaks, taking those breaks, we're going to take our first break of the podcast. When we come back, we'll have more tips to stay healthy, to stay fit, whatever, while you are traveling. So stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, and I will be right back.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Welcome back to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. Today we are talking about ways to stay healthy while traveling. I am curious to know how many of the tips that we've said so far you incorporate into your traveling life, or what you have on your list. Maybe when we come to the end of the episode, you'll say, yes, but what about this? This is what I always do while traveling. And I would love to hear those tips as well, because the more of those tips you have in your pocket, the more you can customize a plan that will work the best for you. Number 6 on this list is to have an exercise routine, whether that is getting a hotel that has a pool or a workout room, or walking everywhere, as I said, or stretching in your room, doing some yoga if there's any room in your hotel room, depending on the size, stretching, doing some yoga. You could do whatever, those things that you can do in your room. Push-ups, sit-ups, jumping jacks, marching in place while you watch the morning news, whatever it might be, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, whatever works for your body. Just, kind of make a schedule in your head and try to incorporate that schedule 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the length of your stay. Kind of like when you're at home, but you may have to be a little more creative about that routine than when you're at home. Number 7 is eat breakfast. This says don't skip and go straight to lunch. Vacations can be expensive, and if you're eating out a lot, you may want to skip breakfast. There are easier ways. A lot of hotels have a continental breakfast, although our hotel had a continental breakfast, and holy carbs, Batman. They did have fruit, though, and eggs and sausage, so that cut down on the carbs a little bit. Not the fruit, you know what I mean? It felt healthier than the Danish. They had hard-boiled eggs, too, and yogurt. At any rate, this says breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Not everyone agrees with that. So if you are not a breakfast eater, don't force yourself to eat breakfast. But if you are a breakfast eater, don't skip it just because you don't want to spend more money. Again, eating out can be expensive. Sometimes the hotel will have a continental breakfast, or you can, most, I would say, if not all, most hotel rooms, at least here in the States, have refrigerators. A lot of them have microwaves or coffee pots. So there are ways that you can do this. You can go to a store and get things that are easy to have on hand for breakfast, whether that's instant oatmeal or granola bars, or if you have the refrigerator, yogurt, etc. There are ways to do it and save on some of the cost of eating out. It's important, if you are a breakfast eater, if breakfast gives you energy for the day and you do have packed days, then you want to fuel your body for whatever it is you're going to be doing on vacation, or you are going to be more tired and you'll need those more frequent breaks. Number 8, hydrate. This is the one I push on everybody always. I'm constantly nagging people to hydrate. I tell my pets to hydrate and they think I'm crazy, just like everyone else thinks I'm crazy. But carry a water bottle with you at all times, and make sure you drink a lot of water when you stop for meals, etc. Related to this is number 9, which is cut down on alcohol and sweet drinks. That you're going to want to stay hydrated. And when we've talked about hydration before, alcohol can not always help in the hydration category. The sweet drinks, you want to, keep your calorie and your sugar content in mind when you are on vacation, because we tend to eat differently than when we are at home. Tate told a story a while back about when he was on vacation in Mexico and he thought he was going to be really healthy, and he drank smoothies the whole time at the swim up bar, and they were just loaded with sugar, of course, and he gained like 10 pounds or something. I don't even remember what he said he gained, but you're on vacation, so you want to enjoy what you're doing, but as with everything, in moderation. In terms of hydration, also, I feel like I get really dehydrated on a plane. Once again, that the size of the liquids that you can carry on, it makes a difference. It's only, what is it now, 2.5, 3 ounces? I can't remember. Don't take my word for that. But definitely not a full-size water bottle, and 2.5, 3 ounces is not even worth carrying on. So a lot of people will buy water once they get inside the airport, but that can be really expensive. So if you're trying to cut costs, bring your own water bottle and fill it in the airport. I've noticed that a lot of places have the water fountains that also have the water bottle dispenser or filler option on them, so that helps. You can carry the water bottle with you. I always ask for water when my flight has a drink service so that I can get a little more hydration. Number 10, is order veggies, cut the meat. Okay, so this says eat veggies when you can. Pick healthier options when you're dining out. Choose a vegetarian dish or add a salad to balance your meal. You can also buy your own veggies or ready-made salad from the grocery store if you're looking, again, to eat more in your hotel room or cut down on some of those costs. This, I think, is a good thing to keep in mind. Again, when we're on vacation, we want to try different foods. We want to try different places, and there is nothing wrong with that. But if you notice that you've been eating a lot more or a lot differently than you normally eat at home, maybe just take a day or two and try some of the healthier options on the menu. You might be surprised at what you find and how much you like them. Cut down on some of the fat, cut down on some of the, the carbs, etc. Just definitely eat your veggies, get your greens. And, this is TMI, but a lot of people can, partly from dehydration, partly from differences in what they eat, a lot of people can become constipated while traveling. So it's important to get your fiber, get your fresh veggies, etc., so that you're going to feel better, because being constipated anytime is no fun, but being constipated on vacation, definitely not fun. Being all uncomfortable while you're trying to either A, visit family and friends, or B, visit beautiful sites and explore and sightsee. No fun. Number 11, eat plenty of fruit. So buy fruit at the grocery store, get it at your continental breakfast, get some with your lunch, whatever it is. Bananas, apples, and oranges you can find pretty much in any grocery store in the world, although if you're traveling outside of the U.S. and you may want to use that opportunity to try local fruit, try something new that you haven't tried before. But fruit can help you stay hydrated. It can give you needed electrolytes, etc. So again, in moderation, because you want to watch your sugar content, especially if you are looking to watch what you're eating. Again, make your own meals. That's number 12. You don't always want to do that on vacation. You want somebody else to cook for you. But if you are looking to cut costs, maybe be a little healthier, then you can take a couple of meals and make them yourself, especially depending on your room. If you have a suite, if you have a microwave, or sometimes even a kitchenette or a full kitchen. I mean, it really depends on where you stay. But you can. A lot of hotels will even have plates and utensils that they will loan you for your stay there. So all kinds of options. Number 13, use wet naps and hand sanitizer. Yes, this comes in handy, of course, when water and soap aren't available. Oh, that's the other thing. If you don't want to carry on any liquid that has to go through the scanner, then your little handy dandy Ziploc bag, you can get those little individually wiped wet naps or hand sanitizer. I think Purell makes the wet wipes that you can just take with you and then open up and wipe your hands off. They would say the hand sanitizer is maybe a little more environmentally friendly. You're not throwing away the wet wipes, but there's definitely options. And of course, the wet wipes come in handy when you want to wipe things down. Seat backs, armrests, all sorts of things. When my nieces came to visit once while I was living in the Bay Area, I was living in Berkeley. We went to San Francisco for a couple of days. We were riding BART, which is the subway system. We were coming up from the station on the escalator, and they were all running their hands along the wall because they thought it was an interesting texture. But I was like, oh my gosh, the number of germs they're picking up from that wall. Yikes. We gotta wash our hands, please, especially if we're going to eat or touch anything else. So, definitely wash your hands a lot. And if you have hand sanitizer or wet naps, then you may want to utilize those in areas that might seem germier than others. On that lovely note, let's go ahead and take our second break of the podcast. Stay tuned. You're listening to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, and I'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast, where we are talking about ways to stay healthy while traveling. And again, this list is not exhaustive. This list is not meant to be followed exactly by everyone. You are going to have your own list, and as you travel, you're going to find how that works for you. But this is just a list to spark your own thoughts and get you to thinking about ways that you can stay healthier while traveling. This next one is number 14, and it says practice hara hachi bu, which is a Japanese concept that means eat until you're 80% full, which actually we're supposed to practice in everyday life, right? You're not supposed to eat until you're full, because then 20 minutes later you're overly full, and this can be, difficult to get into the habit of doing. And as we have mentioned on this podcast and other podcasts, the Japanese do have a very high number of people who are over 100. They are often the person who is the oldest on record in the world is Japanese. So maybe they're onto something with their habits. So this says, how do you know when you've hit 80%? Well, just don't overeat or eat enough to be full. I don't know if that's really helpful, but it says eat smaller meals throughout the day or split your meal and save leftovers for dinner or lunch the next day. And that's always a good idea, especially if you don't want to cook, but you want to cut down on some costs. You can order something, cut it in half, put it in a to-go box. If you ask for a to-go box immediately, take it home, eat it for lunch the next day. Or if you're like my strange hubby, eat it for breakfast. He eats the strangest things for breakfast sometimes. Number 15 is take your vitamins. Important in general to try and, eat healthy so you get your vitamins and minerals. But on vacation, it's important to continue taking your vitamins. And, you may not want to carry your giant vitamin bottle with you in your suitcase. You can get one of those pill boxes that has the days. I have one, and I used to joke when I first got it many years ago that it made me feel like an 80-year-old woman. But you know what? I am okay with being an 80-year-old woman because that thing is handy dandy. And I can keep track of if I've taken them on a day-to-day basis, if I have forgotten to take them, etc. So, and it packs a lot easier than taking a bunch of vitamin or prescription bottles or whatever you need to take with you. Number 16 is protect your skin, which is important every single day. But if you are on vacation and you are sightseeing and you are out and about more than you might be and it's warm, as opposed to it being colder and you're wearing a jacket or something, even then you still want to protect your face. Make sure you're wearing sunscreen with a minimum of SPF 15. You gotta reapply. You can't just put it on the morning and sweat it off and think it's gonna still be working by the evening. You may want to have a travel hat, something that's easy to pack that can keep the sun off your face. Really depends on where you're traveling. You want to wear long sleeves with light colored long sleeves, long pants, those sorts of things. Not everybody likes that, but that can help protect your skin. And if you're in an area that's going to have a lot of mosquitoes and insects, make sure you either bring some bug spray or get bug spray when you are there. You can stick that in your suitcase and not have to put it in your carry-on or whatever. So there's all kinds of ideas for staying healthy while you are traveling. Again, I am curious as to what you do to stay healthy while you're traveling. There is another list that had many of the same things, but this was tips from travel guides, travel experts maybe, what they like to do to stay healthy or fit, and they include mental fitness on that. So one of the tips is to read for pleasure. When you're on a plane, a lot of people like to work on the plane, and if you're on a business trip, maybe that makes sense. But one expert says, I just made a new habit for myself. On airplanes, I read only for pleasure. No work reading. I never did much work on planes, but I felt guilty about it. Now that I know I'll read for fun, I look forward to flying. So that's an option. There's, hydrate and find fresh fruits and vegetables. You figure out your workout routine, take vitamins. So there's a lot of the same thing. This one I like, combat poor airplane seat design. This expert says, I try to drink 10 ounces of water with electrolytes. I love coconut water, but smart water works well too, for each hour on the plane. And actually, I just read a book where one of the characters said that, I think she said 8 ounces, but the same concept. Drink a glass of water for every hour you're on the plane. Definitely sounds good. Stay seated. And she says, and I do seated twist and seated figure 4 every hour on the plane. I heard from an engineer that plane seats are designed to concave your back so you are 2 inches smaller across, but that's the worst position for a healthy spine. So these poses counterbalance that problem. She says, I also carry an extra scarf and roll it up and put it at my back for lumbar support. good tips, right? A lot of people have those neck pillows so they can sleep on a plane, but a scarf actually is easier to carry. I can never get that neck pillow to fit in my carry-on, or it's bouncing off my backpack if I try to put it there. But a scarf, you can roll that up and wad it into all kinds of different shapes. So scarf, pashmina, etc. Take vitamin C, kind of on the same line as vitamins, but vitamin C can help boost your immune system, so you may want to take extra. Cook instead of eat out. Mix workouts with sightseeing. We kind of covered that. Go bananas. Most flights don't offer anything in the way of healthy snacks. So for the plane, pack fruit. The easiest is a banana, which also offers much needed hydration. This one says, I never forget my banana. It'll give you good potassium to help you with cramps. But lately, there are new rules about having to take your snacks out of your bag. So again, just be aware of the TSA rules because those are changing all the time. This expert says to stock up on probiotics. Again, you can have digestive issues when you are traveling, so this might be a way to help counteract some of those difficulties. Depending on the length of your flight, you may want to wear compression socks, and especially if you're planning a trip for out of the country. They help with blood circulation. They prevent blood clots, especially on flights longer than 4 hours. This one, she says, when I found out you could get them in cute patterns, I was sold. And the picture is of, actually, yes, some very cute compression socks. They are not your grandmother's compression socks. De-stress with yoga. This is along the same lines as stretching, etc. Oh my goodness, join the new Mile High Club. This person says, I fly at least 2 times a week, and one is often a long haul. To keep healthy and feeling like me, I do what I call the new Mile High Club. I drink a liter of water on the way to the airport, which usually means that the first thing I do after security is run to the restroom. In flight, I drink 2 to 3 more liters and just look at the walk to the restroom as a great way to stretch my legs, to prevent alien baby bloating in my stomach and feet, and curb digestive issues. I eat cooked veggies before I fly, stay vegan in flight, and go raw when I land. So, maybe that sounds like it would work for you. Working out, of course, get out and explore. So some of the same things, but hopefully this has gotten you thinking about ways that you can stay healthy while you are traveling. I know summer is kind of wrapping up and maybe you're not traveling as much, but the holidays are coming. Christmas is already here in most of the stores, but so if you are planning trips anytime in the near future or the far future, you may want to think about ways that you can stay healthy, because planning ahead is that's better than trying to figure things out midstream sometimes. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. Please join me again next time. In the meantime, have a great weekend and stay healthy.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.